Ah, there we go.
There we go. And here we are, another Freestyle Friday. Um, you guys bring the heat, we bring the clarity, right? So, what's working, or what do you have questions on? What do you want to talk about? Who wants to kind of drive the direction of the conversation today? What's on your mind? What's on your heart? What do you want more of? What do you need?
More buyers.
Great. Okay, let's talk about that. First of all, let me ask why that came up to the top of your head real quick. And Ramil is gonna take the rest of the conversation.
I mean, I've got some closings laid out. A couple are coming. I've got two in August and one in September, and right now that's it. And so I'm needing to work more. I need to plan out like the rest of my year. Um, yeah, financing. We need.
How many listings are you carrying right now?
I have one.
Okay. And is it is it under contract? Is it active? How long has it been active?
No, it's active. It is, unfortunately, it's overpriced, but I think I've talked about it before. She's already come into closing with money. And so we kind of have to have it overpriced. And I don't know, we've prayed about it. She believes that the right buyer is coming. I do have a showing on August 5th. And it's their second time to look at it. So I'm hoping that we will get a
Okay.
contract soon.
All right. So going back to the original question, you said I want more buyers. Tell me more about that.
I
Why?
need paychecks.
Okay.
I got bills.
What are buyers looking for?
Is that a trick question? It's a house.
Great. So if you had a choice between having the inventory and having the customer, which do you want to be? Do you want to be the store, or do you want to be the sign pointer outside the store telling people to pull into the store? Because the store pays the sign pointer a lot less than the store itself.
Right.
So what's the inventory that buyers are looking for? How can you control that inventory? And what happens to sellers when they sell?
They usually buy
Yeah. So, in fact, answering your question, if you want more buyers, what do you actually have to get more of?
sellers.
Correct, because they become buyers and they attract buyers. In fact, sellers equal 2.4 buyers. So, I answer that question that way because oftentimes, because it seems easier just to take a buyer or find a buyer, it's actually harder because they take a lot more time and it's only a third of the opportunity that you could have if you just simply focused on listings. So there's a reason why why we focus so heavily on the message to get sellers, because sellers drive buyers. Think about Zillow. What does Zillow do? What does Zillow do? What's their main business model?
Showing all the listings.
Their main business model is to sell buyer leads to other agents. How do they do it? By having the best inventory warehouse of homes that they didn't get listed, but they pulled them off the MLS and they created the slickest user experience, the easiest way to search and sift through properties to then sell leads to agents. So they understand our business isn't buyers, our business is actually agents that want buyers. And how do they do it? Well, they do it through your own listings, right? So in the coaching that we offer, we're always talking about becoming your own Zillow. How do we become our own Zillow? Well, you get to focus on your own listings and then getting really great at advertising those listings to attract buyer leads to yourself, that whether they like that house, they may not, but can you help them find others? So the answer is I want more buyers. Cool. The solution, more listings. You're nodding your head right now, I think, and just like, I think I'm
Like,
supposed
okay.
to nod my head right now, but there's something inside. And maybe Ramil, maybe you can speak about it because I had this conversation with Ramil last year.
Mhm.
and Ramil was 90-10 buyers. What are you now, right now, about?
Yeah, from since we started working on it last year to now, I mean, this year's been probably 80-20
The other
listings.
way?
Yep.
So you went from 90-10 buyers to now 80-20 listings. How
Yeah.
would you rate your energy around doing that level of business, focusing on sellers versus buyers?
Oh, I mean, it's an up and down. Like Matt said, we talked about it a lot, and I was super resistant to it. Um, and
And go back to that, because
yeah,
Megan's already smiling. She goes, "Yeah, I know.
yeah,
Feeling it.
it
Why?"
didn't. You always hear, the people, you hear it all the time, right? The people that are super like, oh, I just want to be a listing agent, and that's, and I heard that, and it didn't resonate with me. I liked working with buyers. Like I felt like
Ramil likes driving 3.5 hours for a buyer.
yeah. I felt like I was more, connected with people and helping them in, situations. And that's what I was telling myself. And yeah, so I was just super like me and Matt had a bunch of coaching calls about it, and I was just super resistant to it.
So
Uh
Megan, Ramil is simply just doing what you were doing, going,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't
Um
believe you. You're
it
shaking your head,
was
but you're not shaking your head inside. You're just like,
yeah,
you're like,
my
leave me
business.
alone. Can we talk about anything else right now?
Right.
I yeah, my business was mainly buyers. Like I said, it was like 90-10, and starting over, like it felt like I was starting over going to the listing side. Just because it was, I'd done a year and a half at that point of just buyers. I didn't know how to approach sellers. Listing stuff wasn't very, great. And it literally, like, I was good at buyers, and it just felt like I was starting over, and I didn't want to do that. Um, hindsight's 2020, but now it's like, since it's switched, like Matt said, I mean, you get good at it. And just like with buyers, it takes a certain amount of, it took a certain amount of buyers for me to get comfortable with that. And it was the same thing with listings. Took a certain amount of listing appointments, listings for me to get really comfortable. And yeah, it attracts buyers. It's so much less, like, now to the point literally where when I get buyers that want to have showing requests, like, it's like, man, I don't miss doing this.
No
Setting up the
thanks.
showing, routing it out, trying to, having to go to the showings. Just a total flip, in mindset. And, I'm not one to complain about business, but, now that I've seen both sides, like, so much less energy into helping sellers, like, once you get over that hump. um, and the hump is not only just like actually getting them, it was a lot more mental for me too. Like, because I was doing, like, not running around constantly and showing houses at 9 o'clock at night and, doing all this stuff, like, I felt like I was doing less in my business. Um,
And
and
that can jack with you.
huh?
And that can jack with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I felt like I just wasn't doing enough because I wasn't running myself, crazy around with buyers. But it's easy to look at numbers. And I looked at numbers, and I was, on track with, what I did last year and where I wanted to be with my goals. And so yeah, it's definitely a battle, but yeah, getting over that hill it's amazing. The grass is greener on this side.
So Megan, hearing that, what questions do you have for Ramil? You're muted still, though. So
How did you get over the hump?
Just doing it. It's the
Okay.
stupidest
How did you
answer.
start?
Yeah.
yeah, so go back to the process of what were the steps once you finally let go and
Mhm.
submitted to the torture.
Yeah. The first thing, so I'm a person that likes to have, like, I kind of like to predict the future and know that, like, everything is good to go before I go. So the first thing I made sure I did was definitely have my listing stuff in order, right? So we worked on getting my listing presentation together, just having all those things so that when the time came that I did have a listing, I wasn't scrambling then, and I knew what to do. So worked for a while on that, getting all that together. Once I knew that was great, it was just calling people. I do a lot of social media stuff, and so
Mhm.
Matt had me completely switch, my content from buyer stuff. Like, again, I was working with buyers; it was all buyer content. To now, I just strictly post seller content.
Okay.
And even with posting seller content, the buyers will still approach you. Like it's you get the best of both worlds. Um, and so yeah, so changing my content to just strictly sellers, just talking to seller pain points. And then yeah, making the calls. I had a database, I was purchasing leads, and just constantly just pushing the seller narrative. Started calling like FISBOs and expireds. Just really any avenue that I could start talking to sellers, getting more comfortable talking with them, learning their pain points, and just like I said, ultimately just getting more comfortable in doing that.
Audra, did you just cut a sourdough loaf? Like, what is that?
I was like, is
What,
she cutting bread?
what are you doing? And
It's
so
not
Audra's like, getting
sourdough.
listings is as easy as sliced bread.
Yeah, yeah. Not sourdough, but it is fresh milled, like homemade bread from, well,
I was like, is that a cake?
no. Here you go.
All
Here's
right.
my
Sorry to interrupt.
sorry.
But she just sitting there sawing into something.
I wasn't really thinking about it. But yeah, easy as
So,
slice of bread.
all right. So Megan, so question number one is how confident, like when's the last time you really revisited your listing presentation?
I don't even know that I actually have one, if you
There
want
we
me
go.
to be
That's
honest.
why we're
Yeah,
resistant to going after listings. Subconsciously, we say, well, I just love working with buyers. It's not necessarily that we love working with buyers. Subconsciously, we just don't feel prepared for listings.
right.
We're not ready for listings.
Yeah, the
Right?
confidence isn't there. The ones that I've had kind of
Fall in your lap,
landed in my
come
lap.
list me, right? So the question that I ask you is when's the last time you went on a listing appointment you had to compete for? Because that's a cool
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah,
Going on
I
an
haven't.
appointment knowing that they've got other agents coming or they've already come, you see the folder stacked up and you come in and they go, man, we're really glad you came over. We want to work with you. We've met with all these other agents. You're it. And I'm like, oh, yes, let's go. That's the best feeling on the planet. Right. So let's talk about what do you guys have in your listing presentations that's like, man, since I put like, let's talk, what are your processes? What's the method to your madness? What do you got? What's your framework for your listing presentation? Anybody who wants to go first?
Funny. Yeah. Mine was pretty, it's changed a little bit. Mostly what I've done, where it really clicked for me was, just it's important to ask the right questions. I have a few points that I always want to hit. Obviously we want to talk about pricing, um, you know, marketing, things like that. The biggest thing that I think that I did first was pre-listing appointment. I will send them over information about myself. Whether it's the reviews, things I've done, all that. Just to kind of get that out the way. You'll hear people if you watch a lot of videos, on YouTube or whatever, they'll talk about, winning the listing before you get there. And so I do all this stuff basically about me beforehand, before I get there. That way, while I'm there, we can just strictly talk to them and talk about them and what they need from me. Um, Again, I'm still learning. I want to say I'm perfect at all. Um, I like I said, focus on asking the questions and let them really drive, the conversation. And just they'll if you ask the right questions, they will give you the answers basically. And so you just need to, mirror that and answer according to what they're saying they need. I remember the first time I did that on a listing appointment, I think I actually texted Matt and was like, this went exact like this is smooth, like the easiest thing ever. Got through the appointment, they were ready to sign by the end. I wasn't, blabbering the whole time and just filler information. Just super, super easy going through that. Um, and yeah, literally just answering, what they need. They're going to talk to a lot of people, and there's, tons of things you can do to stand out, but you need to know who you're talking to, what information to tell them, and listen more than you talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we'll do it on another workshop Wednesday call. We'll go back through it again. I did it once before for you guys, but there's 9 parts to a powerful listing presentation. There's nine parts to it. If you really break it down, there's a 9-piece framework, right? And it starts from pre-qualifying and getting ready for the appointment, and then preparing for the appointment. The second part's the appointment itself, and then there's several sections in there. The third is setting the agenda, taking control. The fourth is really going back through their motivation and doing a very complete needs analysis at the appointment. The fifth is your marketing overview. That's the educational component, getting them up to speed on what's going on in the market. The sixth is now educating them on your marketing plan and strategies. The seventh is now transitioning then from the market overview, the marketing plan and strategies, to now pricing. Pricing is a part of the marketing plan. And that's the mindset piece. Hey, now let's talk about the most important part of our marketing plan, which is pricing, because pricing equals positioning, right? And then closing for the agreement at that point. And then the last step, which is the most important step, and so many agents miss it, is really laying out the next steps and the cadence of service that's about to follow. Here's what's next. Here's what we're going to do. Here's this on what to expect. And then after that, obviously, is just delivering on expectations. So those are the 9 steps. Obviously, there's sections inside each one of those that there's key components not to miss. So that just, a lot of people are like, all right, listing presentation, what is that? Okay, here's who I am. Here's what I do. Let's take a look at comps and talk about commission. Some people, I love going up against certain appointments where they just walk in because they're so relationship based. And they're like, all right, guys, so you guys want to sell? That's exciting. So what were you thinking about for list price? And how soon do you want to be on the market? And like, that's the listing presentation. And it's like, so yeah, that's one of the biggest components of becoming a really great listing agent, is being really ready for a listing. And I would say focus on putting together your listing presentation that will absolutely wow a $2 million listing. You put together a presentation and a package that can stand up to the discernment of a $2 million listing. When you walk into a $200,000 appointment and you show them $2 million service, you have no competition. And think about your swagger at that point. Because for me, I think listings are all, it's about energy, and it requires a certain energy going into the appointment. And like you build on, like, and you build into that through reps, but also through preparation, right? Competency drives confidence, and confidence creates influence or certainty, if you will. So those are the 3 C's of a powerful framework. So competency fuels confidence. Confidence creates certainty. Certainty is influence. And so we win listings through being really good at it, practicing it, going over it, preparing, doing mock appointments. When I was new, a coach told me this. He says, your goal is to go on a listing appointment every day. And I'm like, but I'm new. He goes, you're not hearing me. Your goal is to go on a listing appointment every day for the first 90 days. And I said, well, what if I don't have an appointment? He goes, then you find somebody and you role play a listing appointment. How confident would you be around listings if by September you've gone on 68 appointments, live or role played, with another agent in your office? And think about how good the other agent in your office will get when you guys decide that you want to go back and forth and do listing appointments every single day, whether you have one or not. Guys, it's that move right there is the force multiplier and the separator of people that are interested in real estate or committed to becoming a market expert. We got a lot of people really interested in real estate, and they use their appointment as their practice. And just listen to how that sounds. Don't use your appointment as your next opportunity to practice. Your appointment is game time. How much practice happens before a game on Sunday? We know it's around 74 hours of preparation every week for an NFL team to play for 1 hour. That's the difference between how professionals prepare versus the rec league. When you play rec league or beer league, the game is your practice. And it's fun. And guess what? Nobody has to pay tickets to watch you play. People pay for professional performance. And that's what this is. That's what this is. And so that's the part is, okay, if that's what you want to be and become, cool. So if you want to be a top producing listing agent is going on a listing appointment pretty much every day or almost every day in real life, right? So if you want to get as good as a top performing listing agent, you got to also go on a listing appointment every single day. Go through your listing presentation with somebody every day until you can literally do it upside down. And what I mean by upside down is that somebody else has the presentation in front of them and you don't even have to look. You just know what's on that page, what's on the next page, what's coming. You've transitioned. You know every iteration of what questions they might have, what objection they may have. So you're not sweating anything because you've heard 9 different versions of why is your commission this? You've heard, well, why can't we have a full page ad in the newspaper? Blah, blah, blah. And what, don't you use Penny Saver? I heard Penny Saver is like the best place to put an ad. I see them everywhere. Okay. You know immediately how to handle it. You're not sweating it. So you can now sit there and be present. Now all of a sudden your energy, your confidence is just a whole different level. Thoughts around this conversation. What else? Who has anything to add? Maggie, you didn't know this conversation was going to go this way, did you? That's why it's called Freestyle Friday.
So we had, oh gosh, this was a few years ago. We had a contest around preparing listing presentations.
Uh-huh.
And you had to do so many, just like that, role play if you need to. And there was an agent who she couldn't find, she didn't want to ask another agent because she felt silly to role play. So she called a friend and she's like, can I just come and practice on you? And she's like, yeah, go for it. I mean, we're just hanging out. And she listed their house from their practice. They weren't even thinking about it. And she was sitting there and they were like, this is actually really good. Let's talk about this some more. So practice with anybody. It can be just a random friend. Maybe you get an extra listing.
Yeah, that's a pro level tip right there, right? One of the best things you can do is reach out to your sphere and say, hey guys, I need your help. I'm working on a new presentation and I'd love to get some eyes on it. And in exchange for your time, you'll have the most updated value of your home if that works for you. Who'd like to set? I've got 2 slots available. DM me if you're interested. Now, do you have more than 2 slots? Yeah. And Ramil, what can happen whenever you do that with your trusted people that you respect when you do a great listing appointment? When you do a great listing presentation? What are some of the side effects of that?
You get listings.
Not only do you get listings, your referrals go up exponentially.
Yeah, you get
Here's why.
referrals. Yeah, like Matt said, I mean, prepare for the higher level. When we were doing this, that was something he pushed a lot, right? Who do you know that, is either higher level, somebody might be nervous to talk to, and he's like, do it for them. He's like, they're gonna give you the most, honest feedback. And if you could do it for them, you could do it for anybody. And honestly, that's that's translated into, even calling FSBOs expired, things like that. Like if I can, call a $1 million expired, what's, calling a $500,000 one.
Piece
You
of
know what I
cake.
mean? And so, yeah, but one thing I have learned from both sides is, the people are different. On the list side, it feels like they 100% want to know that you're competent and can get their house sold. Whereas as a buyer, I always felt and joked about, like, the houses sell themselves, right? You just have to convince the buyers that they should work with you rather than, the million other people that they can. And so the approach for me was different, right? Like, as a buyer's agent, you do want to dig really deeper, form that relationship. You can be buddy buddy with them, things like that. Because at the end of the day, the house is ultimately going to sell themselves. Whereas with the listing side, like, I had to, you know, they're not necessarily there to be your friend, right? They want to know that you can get their house sold, for the top dollar and get it done like you said you can. So that's been my experience with dealing with the two sides.
Megan, was that helpful today?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I'm over
So
here brainstorming, like
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to, I'm taking down notes, trying to figure what I need to do.
One of my favorite top agents who just puts out a ton of content, including their own listing presentation, is Tina Call. So I would go on YouTube and look for Tina Call, Caul, listing presentation training. Megan, it's also in the fast forward files under master classes. She's done several listing presentations, Tina Call, for the fast forward group, which is, we're all a part of that. But yeah, she's super good. Um, Jeff Glover is also really good. He's very scripted, but he's made it very natural, very professional. But his stuff is really good. So if you can go and find Jeff Glover's listing presentation videos out there, they're really worth watching and like getting ready for it. So yeah, I know we are at time, ladies and gents. Have a killer weekend. Go take like 10 listings, or at least go on several appointments, whether you have them or not. There's your pro tip, right? All right. We'll see you guys Monday, same time, same channel. Don't forget to bring a friend.
Bye, Audra. Have fun.
Yeah. Everybody have fun. Don't eat too much bread. All right.